Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Tammy and today I'm here with a planning related video walking through this Plum paper planner that is a weekly planner with budget add-ons. And I'm excited that you're here. It's been a while since I've done a budgeting related video. My system had been working great and I really just wanted to reach back to Plum paper and try something different than their ultimate financial planner, which really did not work for me. That video is still one of my most popular videos, so if you are here for the Plum paper options, let's dig in. I will put in the description below the options I chose to have this particular layout. The great thing about Plum paper is there are so many options, and the worst thing about Plum paper is there are so many options. It can be confusing. It's hard to visualize exactly what you're going to get in which order if you are not super familiar and regularly ordering from Plum paper. However, the price is super reasonable, so I feel like you can kind of take your chances and even snip some of the pages and move them around if that's what you need to do once you get it. Let's go ahead and look at the planner and I'll tell you some of the customizations that I did as we go. First off, if you're familiar with Plum paper, you know that normally there is a clear plastic cover on top of the printed cover. And I have already removed that. That is a very hard plastic. It goes on the front and the back. And if you are rough on your planner or you need extra protection, it's a great option. It is very stiff. It scratches easy to me. And it's just like, I don't like the way the edge of it feels or anything like that. I don't carry my Plum paper products around. They're not my main planner. I use one as a reading log and then I got this one. So they stay at home. I don't need that extra cover and I just don't like the way it looks, so I took it off. But you would get one if you order from Plum paper. The next thing is I made a note, just a memo at the end of the order. Like there's a place for comments, and that is where I requested that they make the cover removable. So they have cut this so that it will just peel on and off and you can change out the covers. I just picked this floral design, nothing, no reason or anything like that. These are just colors I love, and I love watercolor looking designs and floral designs. So this is the one that I chose. I didn't do any customizations, as you can see on the cover. And there are tons of options there as well. You can always just skip that if you want just the print that you've chosen. Okay, now it is a weekly vertical planner and I'll go into some of that as well. This is also the 7x9 size and it is the modern color scheme. So as you can see, it goes from a dark blue through some pastel and this nice mustard yellow and then the lighter blue. And then it repeats the same thing for the next 6 months. So that's the color scheme that I chose. It is a 7x9 vertical financial planner layout. So it just says weekly planner here, but if you were to go to the website, then you would choose 7x9 vertical financial planner layout to start. And that would be what you would start with. Once you get past your title page or your name page, whatever you want to call it, you have your 2021 full calendar spread, followed by the next year, 2022 full calendar spread. You, just like other Plum papers that I've ordered, you have your January through December special dates page. This is great for a budget planner because you can look at weddings you may be attending, birthdays, holidays, that kind of thing. And then you have a whole separate layout which you can use as 12 months or 12 different areas, whatever you want it to be, ideas, plans, and goals, and it comes labeled like that. Now, you have a blank notes page, no dot grid, no lines, nothing, and then I chose a July start date. I will tell you, this planner came like within a week or so of me ordering, maybe 8 days, but I think it was a week exactly. And I did not pay for expedited shipping or anything like that. Again, I did not have the cover customized. So it came really fast, so I didn't choose a June start. You'll see what I did at the end for June for this year, but I chose a July start. I love the colors of this color scheme. And these dividers are still that kind of coated, almost like it's very like plasticky. So if you're going to write on this side, you need a permanent pen or marker of some kind, and you need to still give it a little bit of time to dry. I appreciate the fact for the divider but it's also even reinforced on the divider. I appreciate that the divider is thicker, but I wish to write on it that this was more like regular paper. Speaking of the paper, give me a few minutes and I'm going to get back to discussing the paper. If you've ordered a Plum paper in the past and found it difficult to use a regular pen, I'm here for an update on that. Okay, so this is your layout, and then the layout for each month is similar. I did not choose, let me see on the add-ons, the budget planner from Plum Paper, from what I can tell from the description. So what you're seeing here is all what's going to come in your layouts the way that it is. So you have this income tracking page. This is kind of, it's set at the beginning of the month and it makes sense. So it's saying kind of what is the plan. This is part of what was in the Ultimate Financial Planner that I felt like was missing the budget as a plan ahead page. So it gives you 9 spaces for fixed expenses, and then it's basically tracking your income, your starting balances of your accounts, what your goals are for reducing your debt, which I think I always felt like this is kind of ahead of the game, but at least it fits on the page. I don't really feel like you can do this until you have your complete budget planned. Now, you have your expected and actual for income, which I like. You have your starting balances for your accounts here. Your ending balances come at the end. And then you have a savings goal section, just like your debt reduction goal section. And none of this is changeable. So you get this page the way that it is. Now the idea here is they're having you think about your budget as monthly income that's planned, your savings and debt payoff amounts, minus your fixed expenses, then you have a spending budget. So the mindset is just a little different than what you might find taught through a lot of other sources. Other sources, and what we do personally, is we look at our fixed expenses and our variable expenses for things like groceries, gas, eating out, clothing, and we make a plan for that, and then we see what we can do for savings and debt. So it's a different mindset, and I can appreciate the concept here. So if this works for you, it's great. I think it is something that it's not a lot of space, right? So if I use the rest of the page or even half of this page, it's still a functional page. And I just think that it's something that I will have to maybe give it a try, see how that works doing it that way. Again, I understand the concept of setting your goals and setting aside that money first and then looking at your spending budget. I think the problem, ultimately, the reason a lot of other people teach you to account for your variable expenses first is because it's very easy to say, well, I want to take 25% of my income and put it into savings this month. But if you're unrealistic about what your variable expenses are, for instance, you're trying to feed your entire family on $150 for the whole month for groceries with no eating out, that's entirely unrealistic in modern America. So, for most people, unless you grow your own food, share, I don't know, I think it's unrealistic. So, it's, you don't want to set up unrealistic expectations and then just continually be frustrated by your budget. So that's why I don't necessarily like this mindset approach, but I can appreciate why it's there in theory. Okay, moving on. You then have your monthly layout, and you do have your column here to make other notes. I'll show you later in this video an example of how you can use this whole monthly spread. So stay tuned for that. Then you get into your weekly view. Again, this is part of the way that the planner is designed. So you get these 3 sections here, or 3 lines here. Really, it's 4 lines here with 3 dots in each one. This section, which is blank, just lines, and then an expense and a cost. So in this case, I think this is confusing a little bit for some people, but the expense would be your category. So like clothing and then the amount, or you could say where you shopped, like Target, and the amount. Just be careful if you name stores like Target or other, multi-purpose stores. If you want to categorize your expenses, you might be better off to put clothing, groceries, and so on. Now, I did customize a couple of sections right here, and even here you can customize something. I left this blank, but top tasks is what I customized this to be, and then weekly focus, I customized that as well. All right, so you have Monday through Friday with just a small section for Saturday and Sunday. The idea with this planner is it really could be one planner for you. If you are really focused on financial goals and you want one affordable planner, this has a monthly spread, a weekly spread, and all of your expense items in one planner, even without add-on pages at this point. So it is good for that. On this side, you have your spending budget for the week, the amount you actually spent, and the ending. And this would be all of your expenses. Now, you could decide, since you're allocating your fixed expenses first, and then you have a spending budget. Say this is just for easy numbers. Let's say this is $1,000 a month, and that gives you $250 a week. Then this would be just for your spending budget then, okay? So spending budget, you could list out bills right here that are due. You can check off when they're paid. You can, have a place for treat yourself. All of this was the way that the planner was designed. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you also have a place for tracking your expenses. I think the biggest thing that is the reason this layout would work so good for so many people is every single day you can be aware of what you're spending. Yes, you can log into your online app for your bank and look at what you've spent, but to take the time to write it down, you will hold yourself more accountable to goals like paying off debt and saving more. If you, like me, realize you have actually made 4 online purchases in 3 days for just personal, spending things you like that aren't necessary, you will become much more aware. So that's what I think works so great. And then you have plenty of place in here to write down, you could make this for appointments and write the time. This could be, kid or work related priorities. And then this could be for a task list, whatever you want to make the layout be for you. You have this layout for every single week. Oh, and I didn't necessarily make a note. You can note every single day what your spending total is, and all of this is going to help you feed into the end of your week, which is up here, and then that is going to help you feed into the end of the month. So again, the accountability that's built into this layout, I think, is really, really good. Now, this page here is kind of your finishing up page. This is also similar to what's in the Ultimate Financial Planner. You have your week total spent. They give you 1 through 5 for the partial weeks. Your fixed expenses go back in here, and then you can see what your total actual spending was. You go back to your first page to see what your spending budget was, what you actually spent, and if you were over or under. You can make a note about how you did, and then you can track your ending balances, starting and ending balances actually for your bank accounts here, and the same with your debt. So I love, love, love all of this being pre-designed, ready to go. If you really don't know where to start with budgeting, I think this is actually a really, really great planner, because you can just start filling things in and you will get your finances on track. That is my personal opinion. If you get this and you write in what's here, and you, especially if you track every single expense, even if you want to track your expenses in order to have an idea of what to even create your budget to be, the weekly pages of this and then summarizing at the end is a fantastic place to start. Okay, so once you have all of your snapshots done for the end of the month, you can even look at things like, where did you actually spend the most? Was it dining out, for example? And you have a couple more places for notes. The page that's on the right, the front and back of this page, is the add-on. So this is the budget page add-on. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Yes, so when you choose from the add-ons, you can choose budget add-ons, and you can choose to have them dispersed in the month. So this is what I did here. So this is the first add-on that we can talk about that I did besides customizing those sections. And this gives you, to me, a better idea of an overall budget page. So some of this is duplicating what's built in, but I liked having a little more room for the the overall budget. Okay, so same thing, it gives you a place for spending budget. This add-on really would be kind of unnecessary if you like what you've already seen. But what I like is it gives you an extra place of just tracking variable expenses for the whole month. So for me, I know that there's a lot of accountability in it being in each page. Maybe you even want to use this for a category that you're specifically trying to stick to a tighter budget on. For example, dining out. This could be a great add-on if you want to track just that category and really, you know, not use cash envelopes, but use the tracker to stick to that budget. If it's $200 for the month, you just, every time you spend the money, you deduct from the balance, you know exactly what you have left in that category that you're trying to really tighten down. Okay. That is the monthly view. That repeats. The color scheme does carry throughout the month. So as the color changes for each month, the main pages change. The add-on stays all that purple color. So you can see in September, everything is kind of this mint green, but the add-on page is purple. And that's part of where you can tell if something is part of the main planner or an add-on. There was no option to choose the color for this. Okay, October, November, December, and again, this repeats the colors from the first 6 months of the planner. And my understanding, you guys let me know in the comments, but my understanding is whatever month you start with, the color order will stay the same. So this blue, teal, mint, peach, this gold color, and then this kind of plum blue, purple, that will be those 6 colors will repeat no matter which month you start with. That's my understanding. Let me know if you have one and it's different. Now, what I have done, as you can see, June, this would normally be for June of 2022 because I ordered a 12-month planner with a July 2021 start. But as I mentioned, it came really fast, and I thought this was actually a way for me to get started in the month of June and use this planner. I did also order this bookmark, and I'm realizing that it appears to have like a plastic cover that I didn't realize, so I think I need to take that off. It came in a great little case, yeah. So take your film off. Okay, came in this great little case, so if you really wanted to keep it in here, you could. Definitely very reminiscent of another brand that you may be familiar with. But I had credit and I thought this was just a nice little add-on to have one specifically for this planner. So what I did is I redated June for this planner to be for June of 2021, and I went ahead and made some examples of these categories. This is a combination of things we currently have, things we've had in the past, whatever the case. It's not our actual setup, but I thought it would be a good example of if you own a home and you have 2 incomes and maybe you have some things you're paying off, this might be a good example. Now this is my actual kind of 3 primary goals. I did write this with the Sharpie S gel, so going back to the pen as well. Everything you'll see here was written with the Sharpie S gel, and I did write here as well on this kind of coated paper, but I did leave it open for several minutes to completely dry before I closed it, and as you can see, I don't have any transfer, so I really, really like that. Now, the thing that I feel is different about the paper before we get into the example is I just got this reading journal from Plum Paper at the beginning of the year. And while it is very similar, I guess they might be the same, but definitely from the Ultimate Financial Planner that I had my other video about, which I'll link as well, it just is less slick. The ink goes on and smears almost immediately. You can rub your finger over it, and I'll show you that at the end, but it doesn't smear or barely smears, even if you like drag your finger across immediately. So if you've had Plum Paper in the past and you didn't like the paper, I would tell you to give it a try again. Somebody said that it changed about 3 years ago. I had not used it at that point. Like I said, I really feel like it's still pretty smooth, but it's just not slick. And I really felt like that was another issue I had with the Ultimate Financial Planner, was I really had to make sure everything had dried before I moved my hand across it. I haven't had to do that with this one. Let's get into a quick flip through of my example on how to use these pages. So I have 3 things that are going on this month. You could do birthdays and anniversaries, birthdays and any other events, especially if they are going to be a budget related item, or you might have an expense related to that. And of course you have plenty of other places for notes. And this section, you could do your 2 incomes and any other income. For example, this is an actual example. So my husband is retired from the military, so he receives an amount every month for that. So I always have a place for that. Your expected and actual, you would put here. So at the beginning of the month, you would only have this section filled out. You could start with your checking and savings balances. We do a sinking funds account for things like our HOA funds. So I went ahead and wrote that in as an example. And for your debt reducing goals, you could put like your first credit card, your maybe 1 vehicle payment, 2 vehicle payments, whatever you may have. And then down here for the savings goals, I just made a couple of examples. Our HOA fees, which would be an example of our sinking funds. Another thing you may be working on is, building an emergency fund. So I just put those in as examples. Fixed expenses, again, these are going to be things, technically electric is not really fixed because that can fluctuate. But to me, I think of our fixed expenses as, of course, the ones that don't change month to month, but also things that are just vital. Like our utilities are essential, so they're going to be on this kind of priority list. You can do it however you want. But for a lot of people, if either your mortgage or rent, your utilities, your internet fees, this might include satellite or cable for some people. We just have cell phones, so I put that as an example. If you have a car loan or more than 1 car loan, you could put your amounts in here for that. Car insurance, life insurance. And then I do kind of total our subscriptions, so I just have things like Disney Plus, Netflix, our Patreon subscriptions. I just consider those all subscriptions because they do tend to stay the same, and I just have a total for those every month. So that is another example that's actually something we do. And then you would have a place here, once you have your expected income, you would put that here. Your savings and debt totals, goals totals, you would put here. And then whatever this total is, you would put here, and the remaining would be your spending budget. As I mentioned, I redated this, so it's really 2021 now. I used some leftover hand can plan stickers, and I covered up the holidays that were in here. That leads me to another customization. I did US holidays, but I took some of them off, not because I don't think they're wonderful, but I don't want the clutter, especially in a budget planner, for anything that isn't going to be a day off or something that could create an expense, basically. Those are the only holidays I left in the options, but there are a ton of options. So if you want all the holidays, you can definitely get, I think, everything under the sun. After the monthly page, then you have your weekly views. So again, I redated this, and just as an example, I just put like, your mortgage would be on the 1st typically, and so on and so forth. Now, if you want to see like a full month, let me know. I could either do a sample, or depending on if I cover some things up, maybe I could even do hours. I'm not going to share our exact numbers. That's not going to happen, guys. The internet is full of people who have lots of opinions about you when they don't know you, so sorry. Okay, so that would be your summary page, and then again with the budget. Now what I wanted to show you with this one is another way of using this. So you could track by category here, where you can't necessarily have like if you track your actual expenses day to day, you might have groceries here, groceries here, groceries here, but there's not a place on this page to summarize what your groceries were for that week. You could go back to the month view, and you could say groceries week 1, groceries week 2, you could do it there. But I thought this was another way to use this add-on page. So this is an example of how I will typically track by categories, is the ones that have the most fluctuation. So eating out, groceries, auto, fuel and repairs, which we just do one category, home maintenance items, clothing, gifts and postage, and, you know, my husband's personal spending. And then actually my idea was to leave the rest of this for individual purchases for myself, because, you know, I can kind of add his up at the end of the month, but sometimes I need to be reminded of what I've actually spent. You know what I mean? Now, the other thing that I added on to the back was this budget add-on. So as I mentioned, this last page within each month is the only add-on page that I added to the planner, but this whole budget section in the back I also added. So let's flip through that. You do have a bank account summary page, yearly cash flow. I do really love this 2-page spread. This is something I've been struggling with my A5 ring section, so I'm excited about this. And then you have a monthly assessment for each month. Again, I didn't realize with the monthly budget add-on or the budget add-on that I was getting these pages. So this really is in a way a duplication of what I added to each month. So you really could pick. You could add the budget pages interspersed with each month, or you could just add this section at the back and put little monthly tabs on it, or just keep your, you know, divider on the page that you're on. But this is the layout. You get a monthly assessment area and you get your kind of variable expenses page. So these 2 pages are exactly like what I added on to the back. It's just that when you add it on dispersed, let me show you. When you add it to the dispersed item, it's front and back. When you add the budget section, you're getting this page as a 2-page spread. So to me, this is better, but you can only have this budget add-on at the back as a whole set, from the bank account list all the way through what you're going to see here. You get 12 of these layouts with a 12-month planner. I'm assuming if you did 18 months, you would get 18 of these. Don't quote me on that. And then when you get through 12 of those, you have my bills section. You have 2 pages for that. So in this case, it's still January through December. So for my planner, I would start with June, and then when I get around to January of next year, I could check off things. And the idea of this is like, you would write like your mortgage, your student loan if you have one, your car payment, your electric, you know, the bills that you have every single month, Netflix, Disney Plus, and then you check off when they're paid. There's not enough room to write the amounts here, but this is a tracker for you to know what you've paid. You can also track what it is, especially great for fixed bills, and then the date that it's due. So mortgage, whatever that amount is, and the first of the month, if that is the same for you as it is for a lot of people. Then you have your debt tracker, so you have a place for 3 different debts. You can put the month. This one is not labeled, so I could start this one, say June of this year, if we wanted to track something like that, and then you could put the amount you paid and what the balance is at the end of every month. I also got 2 dot grid pages here. I believe this is part of this budget add-on, but it may be something that comes in every planner. Again, if you have another Plum paper, let me know. Actually, let's look at my reading journal. Yeah, so this is an A5 planner that I have made a reading journal, and it has a couple of dot grid pages in the back. So it could be that you just get a couple dot grid pages in the back of your Plum paper regardless. Yeah, I think so, because then you have that, and you have your contacts, passwords, and then you have a calendar, and you have stickers. So this part, that's all the same as my A5. Here I can show you where I wrote with, let me bring you in. So you can see where I wrote and immediately drug my finger across, and this time the Sharpie did not even smear, but this time it did just a little. So I'll do this again for you. This is the Sharpie S Gel 0.7. So it definitely smeared a little right away. Let's leave it while we write the next line and see what happens. I am going to grab a tool So no smearing after about a minute of waiting for that to dry. No smearing just in that brief wait. Well, just barely maybe. Yeah, just a tiny bit of smearing. So let's write with that and wait and see what we get. But I love both of these pens. So I believe this is also a 0.7 in the tool. And if you're wondering, I have blue ink because I use blue ink for work. And I keep one at my desk since I work from home some days. So yeah, so no smearing after a minute or so with that one. You have your contacts page next, as I mentioned, passwords, and a 2023 calendar, which seems... It's been a year, you guys, of a lot. So it's a little overwhelming to think about 2023. I could almost just take that out. 2 pages of stickers. These came coiled in the planner. And if you heard that, that is a Florida thunderstorm coming through. And 2 pages of stickers and then a pocket. This came with it. You can get clear drop-in like page protector style add-ons here and lots of other options. If you have questions about any of the other options with Plum paper, let me know what those are as well. And as I mentioned, join me most days on Instagram. I'm at Tammy Skipper. And thanks so much for subscribing, hanging around for the end of this video, and giving it a big thumbs up. Have a fantastic day, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.